Hello, good welcome to Motzei Shabbos edition of Daf Yomi Masechet Chagigah, Daf Yud number 10. If you hear a noise in the background of a kid screaming, it's my son. For some reason, he decided to just scream, and I don't really know a better way of dealing with it than just letting him scream. I've tried giving him pacifiers, bottles, holding him, nothing works. He was sick. He's on antibiotics now, so hopefully he'll be doing better. I forgot to bring my costume again, but part of my costume got roomed over Shabbos. It's supposed to be a farmer. Check it out, hopefully on Purim, he just was a farmer. Veha ikar, lo lefa. And ikar also means, ikar means the main point. The main point of life is lo lefached klal. You shouldn't be afraid, but also ikar in Hebrew is a farmer. During Shemitah year, ikar lo lefached klal. The farmer shouldn't be afraid at all. That's why I'll be just a farmer, and I'll be going around. Instead of collecting money, I'll be collecting cucumbers and tomatoes, maybe some peppers if I get very greedy. The song goes like this. Normally the song is called Ha'olam Kulo Gesher Sar Me'od Be'ha'ikar Be'ha'y. So my song is this. Kol Ha'olam Kulo Sadeh Katan Sheli Sadeh Katan Shali Ve'ha'ikar Ve'ha'ikar. The farmer on Shemitah shouldn't be afraid. Trust Hashem. Even though your whole world is your field, but on Shemitah we trust Hashem. All right, let's get into it. The Mishnah says on Daf Yud, Heter Nedarim Porchen Ba'avir, the way of being Matir and Neder. Unfortunately, I don't have a better situation. This is the only place I can do my shir right now, Motzei Shabbos. I kick my wife out of the room for a little bit. This is my bedroom over here. The living room is not feasible. There's always people coming in and talking, so I don't have too much place to go. So I'm gonna have to give it under these circumstances. I have my newborn daughter. She's on the other bed over there, and hopefully she won't scream too much. Let's get into it. Heter Nedarim Porchen Ba'avir. The concept that Nedarim could be matir. Normally, you make a neder, you have to keep your neder, your vow. But there's a way of getting rid of it, meaning untying it, making that you don't have to keep your vow anymore. It's discussed in Masechtas Nedarim. Porchen Ba'avir. That idea that you can be matir your neder is sort of floating in the air. It's not really clear from the Torah Shebechtav how you do that. The Torah Shebal Peh is really, the Gemara talks about obviously Masechtas Nedarim extensively, but from the Torah Shebechtav, from the written Torah, we have no clue about this. They have nothing concrete in the Torah Shebechtav to rely on. Halachas Shabbos, Chagigos, Me'ilos. These three things, the halachas of Shabbos, the halachas of Chagigos, which is this Masechta, Shalmei Chagigah, and Me'ilos. Me'ilos is when you take kadosh property and you use it for unsacred things. You take property based on Mikdash, it's a penalty if you do it b'shogeg unintentionally. You have to bring a korban Hashem Ilos. You have to pay an extra fifth to the base of Mikdash. You have to return the core value to Karen. Ilos Harim Kaharim Hatlulim Basara. They're like mountains that are hanging by a hair. What is exactly that does it mean? That is going to be the subject of Ian with Ben Sion. What is the difference between this and Porchen Ba'avir? Porchen Ba'avir means floating in the air. It's not totally in anything. These at least have something. There are mountains that are held by a hair. I mean, if a mountain is held by a hair, it's obviously going to be break and the mountain's going to fall down. What is the difference and what does it mean? What does the Mishnah mean by that? Mikra muad b'halachas merubos, meaning basically way of understanding it. In short, the Mishnah is basically quantifying this, is that there's few psukim by these things, by Hilchos Shabbos and Milos and Chagigos. Halachas merubos, halachas, there are a lot of halachas that are written in the Gemara that we are not aware of from Torah Shebechtav. Hadinim avodas v'ataras v'atmeos harayos yishan amash yizmechu ve'hein gufei Torah dinin, which talks about dinim mominus, right? The way you adjudicate monetary cases. Avodos, the korbanos, so the laws of the korbanos are based on Mikdash. Hataros v'atmeos, something which makes you Torah and Tameh. Arayos, all the forbidden relationships. Those are written extensively in the Torah Shebechtav. Hein gufei Torah, those are not necessarily the main parts of the Torah, but their portion in the Torah is goofy, and their goof, their the body, the main part of it is in the Torah. It's in the Torah Shebechtav. Tanya Eliezer Omer Yesh Lahem Al Mash Yismechu. Eliezer says they have what to rely on. Meaning, the Mishnah says that Heter Nedarim you can't find in the Torah. It says contrary to that. He says they have shenemar kiyafli kiyafli. Shnei pam achas hafla isra achas hafla heter. It says the word hafla twice. Hafla means to say something clearly. So one way is to say it clearly when you make the neder. And one thing when you come to the base into matter, now you have to say exactly what the neder was. So they can find a pesach or a charata. They find a mistake that you made in making the neder, so they could a loophole, so they could remove the neder. He says there is what to rely on. Hashem says, I swore in my anger. The fact that Hashem said, I swore in my anger, is to tell you that he swore in anger, meaning without the full intent. And therefore, when he, quote unquote, Hashem cools down, he could remove the neder. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer Yishal Mashi Yismachu, he says that Heter Nedarim have what to rely on. Shnemar Kol Nediv Libo. This is by the donating to the Mishkan. Kol Nediv Libo, whatever his heart pledges, meaning it's totally in his heart. Meaning, if when he donated it, he had one thing in mind. He wanted to give it to the Beis Hamikdash and then to the Mishkan, and then later on he changed his mind. He could remove himself from that obligation to give it to the Beis Hamikdash. Hanani ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua Omer. Hananiah, who was the nephew of Yeshua, said, I'll swear and I'll be Makayim it. Meaning he was saying, as opposed to normal Shvuah, I could matir a Shvuah, I could take a Shvuah and I could release myself from it. But he said, I'll do one better, I'll be Makayim what I did. Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel, Yehavi Hasam, Shmuel, if he was, this was a discussion of Tanoim, Shmuel was an Amora. Yehavi Hasam, if I was in Mak's discussion, Amar Hu Didi Adif Midid, I have a better proof that the Heter Nedarim has what their line. Nemar, Lo Yachal Dvaro, Hu Einon Mochel, Valacherim Mochel, Lo Yachal Dvaro means that if he makes a nether, he can't be meichel, he can't make his nether chulin, he can't make his nether non-existent. But other people, a basin, they could be matir his nether. I'm a Rav L'Kulu Isla Pircha. Rav, when he heard Shmuel said this, says L'Kulu Isla Pircha. All the Tanoim, their proofs have a problem with them. L'Barmi the Shmuel does not have a problem. L'Isla Pircha. What's the problem? Even the Relezer, the Rabbi Yehuda, if it's the Relezer says Kiafli two times. Maybe that's like Rabbi Yehuda She'amar Mishum Rabbi Tarfa. He says the name Rabbi Tarfa. The sign Yehuda Amar Mishum Rabbi Tarfa. And the Olam Einechem have Nazir Naziros Al Afla. This is talking about a case if two people see someone and they say, I am going to be a Nazir if that person is a Nazir also. The other person says, I'm going to be a Nazir if this person isn't a Nazir. Turns out either a Nazir or not a Nazir. But anyway, it's a conditional Naziros. He only made the Naziros. He only took the Naziros as a form of a Neder. He only took the Neder Al-Tanai on a condition. He didn't know. He had no knowledge of whether the condition would be fulfilled or not. It's like betting already. And betting, there's no Nedarim, but according to Rabbi Tarfon, it's not considered a Neder. Even if the guy actually turned out to be a Nazir, you're not a Nazir. Naziros or Nedarim have to be spoken out without Tanai, without condition. They have to be spoken out clearly. Even Rabbi Yeshua, Dilma Hachi Gamar. If it was Rabbi Yeshua's proof, I could disprove that from Hashem says, I swore in my anger, meaning he really swore with a lot of force. Not that he made a mistake when he was in anger. He swore with real force that it's really a real neder, and he's never going to relent from that. Even Rabbi Yitzchak, the Shmuel of Rabbi Yitzchak, says Kol Nediv Libo. The reason he said that, the pasuk says that, is to tell you not like Shmuel. Amar Shmuel, Gomer Belibo Tzarach Sheyotzi B'Svasa. Normally, halacha is a person has the intention to make a shvur or a neder. It's not a shvur or neder until he actually says the words. He can't just think in his heart. It could be that the intention of the pasuk Kol Nediv Libo is to tell me that you could have a neder just by finishing thought in your heart, finishing being Gomer Belibo, meaning concluding in your mind that you want to take this nether or shvur. That could be enough. Even the Hananiah ben Achi Rabbi Yeshua, if it's Hananiah, maybe it's not like that. Maybe it's not a proof. Maybe the pasuk in Shpati V'Chayema is talking about Rav Gidal Marav's teaching. How do you know that it's a meritorious thing? It's a good thing to take a shvur in Mechayim Mitzvah. Normally, shvuos are not something, we'll see in Masechet Nedarim, not something that you want to take upon yourself. But if it's to strengthen you to do a mitzvah, so then it's a good thing not to learn out of this pasuk. Something to do with the fact that we're learning you can make matir and neder. El Shmuel leisle pircha, but Shmuel doesn't have a pircha. Amar Rav v'itema Rav Nachman Yitzchak Hanedar Meinshin Tava Chada Pilpul Sa Charifta Mali Sana Bekiri. We learn from this that one sharp pepper, I guess my daughter likes sharp peppers, screaming about that, is better than a bucket full of gourds, or squashes, or pumpkins. Sharp pepper causes more reaction from people than sharp comment causes more reaction from people than something which is pumpkin, I guess, sour. Sour tastes bitter is better than sour. Is that what the Gemara is saying? I don't know. But anyway, the point is that Shmuel doesn't have a pircha. Shmuel sort of brings a proof over here that Yisrael Hamashi Yismachu is a little bit of a question over here, because the Mishnah says that Hetem Daram Parchim Avar Be'elah Hamashi. The whole Gemara is trying to bring proof that there is what to rely on. So what exactly is Maskana? The Gemara brings that Shmuel has no pircha. Shmuel seems to say there is a definitive proof from the Torah. Leave it as a question for now. Hilchos Shabbos. The Mishnah mentioned Hilchos Shabbos are things which are totally beside, like mountains depend on hair, on threads of hair. Michtav Ksivin. The Gemara asks, what are you talking? It says Hilchos Shabbos. It also says Seh Malacha. 39 times it says don't do work. The Mishnah's reference is Hishon Rabbi Abba, Amar Rabbi Abba, Hachofer Guma b'Shabbos. Someone who digs a hole on Shabbos. And normally when you dig a hole, you do it for building, so you can build over there. But he just wants the dirt over there, potter. He's potter over there for building. Command Rabbi Shimon. Who is this like? Rabbi Shimon, Damar, it's only like one opinion. Rabbi Shimon holds you do malacha, not for the intended purpose, the normal way the malacha is done. The malacha is normally done, you dig a hole to build something with that, or to plant. But if you dig a hole in order just for you need the dirt, so you're potter. So that's like Rabbi Shimon. Whereas I feel the table of Rabbi Yehuda, you can even say it would go according to Rabbi Yehuda. Hasa Masak and Acham Akalkalu. Even Rabbi Yehuda would agree when you chol for guma and sarach alafara, you dig a hole and you only need the dirt. It's called makalkel. You're not masak anything. You're destroying your ground. If you only need for the dirt, you're not helping grow anything in your field. You're not helping build anything. It's makalkel. So therefore, you're putter. It's not chayav on Shabbos. So the Gemara is my kaharna tluyim basara. So I believe the Gemara is really asking over here, meaning, so you see that Malacha Shabbos are totally in your Kavana and your Das. So even though it says Lo Sasa Malacha in the Torah, it sounds like Asiyah's Torah. It has nothing to do with your Das. So really it should be Parchos Ba'avir, like it's by the Dorim. So why it's Tulim Basara? Where's the connection? Where do you find the Torah that it's alluded to? That it depends on your intention by Malacha Shabbos. So my answer is, Yom Beis, Malachas Machshavas Asher Torah, Malachas Machshavas Lo Ksiva. Because the way they say this is that Malachas Machshavas, it says Lo Sasa Malach when it comes to the building of the Mishkan. The building of the Mishkan was depend on, they have to have the right Kavanah when you do the Mishkan. Asher Tziva, it says, Moshe, Kasher Tziva Hashem, Moshe did the work of the Mishkan, Kasher Tziva Hashem, he did it with the right intentions, mitzvah. So therefore it's connected. It writes about Malachas Shabbos when it's referencing the Mishkan to show you that it's alluded to that it depends on your Kavanah, and therefore if your Kavanah is not for building, you just need the dirt, so therefore you're not chayav for it. Chagigos, where do Chagigos are not written in the Torah? Michtav Ksiva, the Gemara says it is written in the Torah. Like the pasuk we talked about in previous days, that says he's supposed to bring a Shalmi Chagigah. So the Gemara says, Rav Papa asked Abai the following question, that's the pasuk, you should celebrate a Chag Hashem, Zvicha. How do you know it's bringing a korban? Maybe, this is what we're going to have to get into. Originally, when I started on Chagigah, the word Chagigah in modern day Hebrew means a celebration. I knew it referenced to a korban, so I was going to bring in different types of meats. But now we get up to the Gemara, where the Gemara says, Chogu. What I would have thought it's celebration. What type of celebration? So Rashi says over here, Chaga, Chogu, Chaga, to have a harbo b'simcha. He says to have a lot of simcha, celebrate. I mean, it's a little problematic because we know there's a mitzvah shalmi simcha, which is something else. Samach v'chagecha says in the Torah. Why would I think that? It says samach v'chagecha. You already know that. As far as the Chogu, Chaga, it's like Tosfos, yesh rash alish macholos. Dancing. You're supposed to dance during, this is in the Makor for Simchas Beis Shoeva, maybe. Supposed to dance, I don't know. Until Beis Shoeva doesn't Masechah Sukkah, they used to dance also, the big rabbis. But everyone's supposed to dance during Pesach and Sukkot and Shavuos, supposed to dance. But anyway, even according to Rashi, it's a lashon celebration. We're gonna get back to this in a second. I'll probably be soon. And based on that, I want to say that really Chagigah is a celebration, and we have to bring things to celebrate. I didn't bring any balloons today or streamers, but we'll have to get that for next year. Anyways, the Gemara says maybe it means a celebration, a big celebration, be really happy, dance. So the Gemara says, midbar. So it says, if you really assume that Chagigah means just a celebration, a dance, it says by when Moshe said to Paro, he's going to go to the midbar to make a chag. Hakanami the chugu chagahu. They're going to go dance in the midbar. Maybe that's what Moshe was asking Moshe Paro. He was asking for karbanos. You see Chagigah as a reference to sacrificing Chagigahs and eating the meat. Maybe that's what Hashem was telling Moshe. You should ask from Paro to go eat and drink and celebrate in front of me. And when it says Zvachim Ba'olos, doesn't mean consecrate. It means you should be makdish them as karbonos. Just means shchita. You have to, in order to eat meat, you have to shecht it. Zvachim, it's regular shchita. It's chulin meat. Lo sagadaita. Can't think of it. Chsiv lo yalin chelev chagi ad boker. It says the word chagi. You shouldn't leave over the fats of chagi ad boker. If you'll tell me that it's just chulin meat that you're offering on Yom Tov, tarba l'chagay isle. Is there a commandment to burn the fats on the mizbeach during the night and not to leave them over till the morning, to burn them all at night? The Gemara persists. Any chaylev, really, there is such an injunction that really, even though it's chulin meat, you're not supposed to leave over any of the fats, you're supposed to burn it. This pasuk would emerge as talking about during Yom Tov. So only during Yom Tov, that unconsecrated meat, you can't leave over the fats, you have to burn them on the mizbeach, but the rest of the year you don't burn them on the mizbeach. It says in regards to all the karbanos, Talmud, that the whole year you can't leave over the fats till the morning. So it says Dilma, it says that's the mitzvah's essay that you have to burn it. So I would say there's an injunction essay, only which is not as strong as a losa essay. Essay just implies you have to do it, and it's not okay to leave them over. Because Rahman had a lav, therefore it says the second pasuk for a lav. In terms of lav, because of krachrina, we have another pasuk which is a lav. Lo yalim min abasar asher tizbach be'arav yom harishon laboket. When the korban pesach and the animal you bring with the korban pesach, it says you can't leave it over. So we have a dim lav or b'shnei lav, and really the essay, maybe the Torah wanted. Sometimes the Torah wants to strengthen the lav, and it says it twice, and we'll have two lavim in the essay, and that's what it's talking about. So the Gemara hasn't been able to prove that it really means an actual consecrated korban. Chagigah. Ela asya midbar, where we have to say it's a gzera shava midbar. Ksiv hachal yechol to leave a midbar. Hashem asked him to do a chagigah in the midbar. Ksiv hasam azvachim mincha gashem li b'midbar. There's a pasuk in Amos, in Nevi'im, it says zvachim or mincha. These are karbanos. Gashem b'midbar. It says midbar there also, just like it says midbar is talking about karbanos. So too, when it shows Chagigah in the Torah, it's also a reference to Karbanot. So we have a good proof. So the Gemara asks, once you have a Gzera Shava is part of Divrei Torah, it's part of his Kilu, it's like written in the Torah. So the Gemara says, Divrei Torah, Divrei Kabbalah Yalfina, and in general, we don't learn out rules from the Torah from Nevi'im. So therefore, in the Torah, it's really very weakly represented. And therefore, we have to say, it's Kaharin, Hatulim Besar, Me'ilos. Me'ilos is the third thing that's considered Me'odin, that's hanging by a thread. Michtav Ksifan. The Gemara says that's written in the Torah. It says all the laws of Me'ilah. If you take unconsecrated, consecrated kachim bedek abayis, consecrated property based on Mikdash, and you use it for chulin purposes, it tells you explicitly in the Torah what to do. You have to bring a korban on Shemilos, you have to repay it, you have to bring a chomesh, add another fifth. It's needed for a unique halacha by Hilchas Me'ilach. If someone goes and tells you, I tell you, go and take this money and spend it on something, spend this Kodesh money that belongs to the base of Mikdash and spend it to buy yourself a soccer ball, right? So normally the halacha is, the Gemara says in Kedushin, if you can tell someone to do an avera for you, right? The person who does the Aveira, the Shliach, is responsible because he did the Aveira. We can't say that it reverts back, even though normally by mitzvah, Shluch Shalom Kamoso, or by halachas, by Gittin Kedushin, the Shliach of a person, it reverts back. It's like Mishaleach, it's like the person who sent him actually did it. When it comes to Averos, we can't say that. But in Meila, we do say that. Shliach Shlichus is a Balabayas Mal. If he does his Shlichus, so then the person who sent him is Mal. Loas Shlichus, so if he didn't do it, he did something different. I mean, he told him to buy a soccer ball, he bought a basketball. Shliach mal and the shliach said, why is it that if he does shlichus, he has milah? There's no shlichus v'avera. You did the avera, you're responsible. So therefore, milah, the chiddush is that by ilos is yesh shliach v'avera by milah. That is the halacha, which really is not alluded to so well in the Torah. Amar Rava umay kosher. What's the problem? Maybe there is good support from the Torah from that, because we learn from Truma. It's like a Truma, we learn there is an exception. The Yeshlech Varvera when it comes to Truma. By eating, someone eating Truma of a Kohen. You tell someone to eat Truma of a Kohen. And so too, Al Me'il also, there is Shliach Varvera. When it says, Ma'as Shulch Shalom Kamoso, Avkan Shulch Shalom Kamoso. Elam Arava, L'Nisrach Elach Desanya. The Chiddush, the reason that it's not so alluded to in the Torah is for the following halacha. Nizkar Val Bayis, Nizkar Shliach, Shliach Mal. Shliach. Now let's say he did it. He told him, the Malabayas, the one who had the money of based on Mikdash, told him to go and buy a soccer ball. Before he bought the soccer ball, the Shliach remembered. This is all talking about shogig. Mila is only if you do it unintentionally. Then he remembered, oh wow, when I sent him to go buy the soccer ball, that money really was Kodesh. I really shouldn't have sent them. So he remembers before the guy actually bought the soccer ball, even though normally Shluch Shalom Kamosu by Meila. So here he remembers before, then the Shliach is, we don't say Shluch Shalom Kamosu, and the Shliach is responsible. Something that's it's problematic. Shliach Anya Micah of it. It's what did he do? He's the poor Shliach. What did he do? He didn't do anything. He just, the other guy remembered. That's why it's something which is not really so well founded in the Torah. Maravashi, my kusha, what's the problem? We can learn this principle from Mematzina, just like when you spend money of hektish for chulin, for a soccer ball, right? So only if you know, the whole concept of the Mila is you have knowledge, right? If you don't know, then you're chayev and meila. The whole concept is you don't know. So when you take malos hektish l'chul and you spend it on a soccer ball, a regular person, so that is problematic. Why b'shogig are you chayev? You didn't know what you were doing. Ela marvashi nisracha ela. So just like that doesn't make so much sense. So also we can understand why shlichus doesn't make so much sense. Ela marvashi nisracha ela. The halacha that is ambiguous from the Torah is this following: this not natal evan al kura shal hektish hareza lo mal. Let's say you took a stone or you took a beam that belonged to the Beis HaMikdash. You took it, you didn't do anything with it, you didn't do milah. Nas l'chavero, once you give it to your friend, so harehu mal v'chavero lo mal. The person who gave it to him, he did milah because he's giving a present. When you give a present to someone, right, the person really owes you something, so you're benefiting from hektish. Chavero, he just got the present, he didn't commit milah. Michti mishkal shakla malihu mali chavero. Why only when he gives it to the friend is he chayav from ilah? The fact that he just took it out of the storehouse of hektish, he should be chayav also. That is why it's something not really well founded in the Torah. My kusha, what's the problem? Maybe it makes sense like Shmuel's teaching. The Amar Shmuel, this teaching of the Mishnah is talking about a unique case. It's talking about not a regular person, it's talking about the person in charge, the Gabbai who's in charge of the storehouse of hektish. Whatever he takes it, he's already acting as a shliach for the Beis HaMikdash. So when he takes it, even if he takes it for himself, he's not really motzi it to chulin, because he's supposed to be dealing and holding and taking these objects. That's why when he takes it without doing anything, so he's not chayav. Only once he gives it to someone else, then he's chayav. El mi seif. It must be from the seif of that Mishnah. Bana b'soch beis ha'reizel al mal. If you took the beam or you took the stone and you built it into your house, you didn't do milah. Until you live in that new house with the consecrated beam, the amount of time that would be worth a shavah pruta, $1, let's say. I don't know how depends how nice the house is. Mifti shnuye shanye. So let's see. It doesn't make any sense. He changed the beam when he built it in the house. Obviously, he had to change it. He had to cut it in parts. He had to not nail it in. Mali dar, mali lo dar. Even if he didn't dwell in it, he changed it. That's why this is unique. Hilchos Meila. It's something which doesn't really make so much sense on the surface from the Torah. Because even if he just built it, he should be chayiv. My question, what's from? The case in the Sefer the Mishnah was talking about where he didn't actually change the beam or the stone; he just put it on top of the roof or the roof. What is it called? The roof light, aruba. You have a hole in your skylight. He put in the skylight, so therefore he didn't change it. He darbe in low darbe low. It makes sense. Only if he lived there, he got hana by living in such a structure. Then he benefited from it. Just putting it there, he didn't change it. He's not responsible. Ela lolam k'deravas. The Gemara retracts. Really has to be like Rav is teaching. The kashalach midi the havei motzi malos hektish chulin. Like Rav is teaching, right? That if when you send someone to buy the soccer ball and then you remember before he buys it, so then the shliach is mal. Even though normally shliach shaladam kamosu by meila. When he remembers before, it doesn't apply. And we said, no, that's obvious because the whole concept of the meila is when you don't know. It is really chiddush. Why is it a chiddush? Hasa made the yada the ikazuze the hektish when a person commits meila in general, he knows he's dealing with consecrated property. He has consecrated property, but he thinks that the thing he's using, he has two parts in his wallet. One part of the wallet is for the hektish, one part is for the not hektish stuff. He thinks he's taking the not hektish stuff, so he should have been careful. He knows already in his wallet he has consecrated money. But over here, when he sends a shliach, right? How could the shliach know? The shliach doesn't know. It's not his fault at all. The fact that the Baal Habayis remembers that, oh wow, I sent him with consecrated money, and now we make the shliach chayiv, even though normally shliach shalom kamoso, the shliach is not chayiv by meila. That is something which haran ketlim asar, hainu kaharan ketlim asar. That's something which doesn't seemingly make sense from the Torah Shebachtav. We need the Torah Shebal Peh to help us understand that. If you want to dig deeper into the svara of haran ketlim asara, check me out right now as I give the next shir Ben Sion.